Hello everyone and welcome to this video. I know you can't see my head right now, you can see the floor, the box and the cross trainer, which is the main focus of this video. Well, long story short, the cross trainer's main support beam, I would say, is defective by design due to the way it's mounted and fixed to the base. But the screws holding it in during like normal usage of the cross trainer, these screws do become loose and then the main support beam can become wobbly, and I would say that is a hazard to the user. So I've contacted Amazon, I've explained the circumstances that I've been facing with the cross trainer, and they did not hesitate to offer a return and refund. So I agreed to the return and refund as I don't really want to use a cross trainer that is wobbly. I told them that I still have the original packaging, so I asked them if they wanted me to disassemble it and put it back in its packaging. They said I didn't need to, but they would prefer it if I did, due to it being a large object and maneuverability would be like hindered as it's set up and assembled. I have no plans for today, so I thought, you know what, I may as well just take the cross trainer and put it back in its box. Now I just need to figure out which bag goes with what component. And George is here. First thing I'm going to do is move the cross trainer into a wider shot so you can see it a bit better. Okay, George has just left the room. I thought he'd go as soon as I started moving stuff. Anyway, let's begin the disassembly process.
I've been watching you. Just come to
I'm going to take the box downstairs before it gets too heavy, and then I'll just take all the packaging downstairs and finish packing it up. But I'll save you the effort of not needing to watch that. And then I'll clean up the floor, because I noticed it's been getting this like dust all over the place. Before I close off this video, I'm going to explain to you in more depth why I decided to return the cross trainer. This cross trainer you are looking at here is not the same model of cross trainer that I have or had. But looking at this picture here, this cross trainer does also have what I'm going to call the main design flaw behind the design of it, and that design flaw is ultimately why I return the cross trainer. So if we zoom in here, oh yeah, I will just say if my drawings are bad, it's because I'm using the mouse. I don't have one of those pen things, but even if I was using a pen, my drawings are still bad, they just won't be as bad. But I've zoomed in here on these 3 screws, and if I actually just like go ahead and do that, so that way you can see like the little merge line there where the 2 tubes meet together on this front central column. Now this is the main reason why I return my cross trainer. So at a quick glance like that, the design looks like it would work perfectly, and in a way it does work perfectly, but it doesn't remain perfect. Now let me explain why. So this central column, including this bottom bit, but I'm only going to focus on the top bit, which is above the green line. Anyway, this central column holds most of your body weight. Your feet are on these like foot tray bits here, and your body weight is spread out down these 2 arms. Well, that one actually goes behind that bit, but basically your body weight is spread out down these arms. It then goes up here to this T-point in the design here, and then it all goes across there. And of course, if you are holding onto the handles, then some of your body weight will be going through the handles, and the same with these handle bits here. And also some of your body weight would be taken up by this like back section of the cross trainer here. But if we now go and follow where your body weight is, we can see that the majority of your body weight is transferred through this T-point and down into this join here. That was supposed to be a circle, but I'm using a mouse, so bear with it. And the reason why that is a design flaw is because it's a cross trainer, so you're going to have to imagine the jogging motion or running, walking motion, whatever you want to call it. But to put it simply, these bottom arm bits here where your feet go, they will be moving back and forth. And these handles up here also go back and forth, but in the opposite direction. And eventually, all of the motion from you using the cross trainer and you like exercising on the cross trainer will cause the entire top central column above this joint that I've highlighted down here will be like tipping and swaying to either side depending on like which throw of motion you are with like your hands and feet on the handles and foot pedals. Now when you first tighten these joints up, the back and forth motion will be minimal, but as you use the cross trainer you will be putting a lot more force on the cross trainer, and eventually this back and forth motion where this entire upper column is wanting to sway to either side, but this bottom section of the column here, which is attached to the feet and this like underlaying bar, that will not want to move, so that will remain static, but the top half of this column will sway left and right. This motion will put strain on these nuts and bolts here, causing them to come loose, and then before you know it, the entire top of the cross trainer is swaying because the screws have become that loose that they no longer hold it solid. Now you might be saying, well, when they come loose you can just tighten them up again. Now yes, you can tighten them back up again, but if you do that, that's probably going to make the situation even worse, as I'm about to show you in the next diagram. So what you have here is this circular tube, and if we go and have a look at the design, you can see that 2 nuts here go through that way, taking into account the position the cross trainer is in the picture, and we can see that one of them goes across like that. So from the above view, so we've got 2 screws, one above and one below, and then we have one going horizontally across the middle, like that. This here is a circular tube, and if you begin to tighten the nuts that are on these screws, I'm going to try and draw this the best as I can, but you will start creating flat points in which the cylinder becomes crushed because you are tightening the screws that much, it's actually deforming the cylinder. So what you will end up with is something that is no longer a cylinder and it begins to look more like a hexagon. What I should have said was when you crush it, it begins to look like a square with rounded corners from the above 2D perspective that I am showing you in the video. Now there's one problem with that. When a tube is in a circular fashion like it was before we crushed it, it has a very good structural integrity and it can take a lot of pressure. But the moment you flatten one of the sides, like what we've done here by tightening the nut a bit more and it slightly crushed the cylinder, that flat surface, or in this instance those 4 flat surfaces, will become weak points within the structure, which will just make them even more likely to succumb to further damage in the future by constant use of the cross trainer and the constant back and forth motion. Now with my cross trainer I had actually tightened these screws up, but they'd come loose that many times and I tightened them up that many times that the central cylinder was beginning to become deformed. And while it wasn't to the same extent that this little diagram thing that I've drawn here is, but the cylinder was no longer a cylinder, and because I knew about the structural integrity, and once a cylinder no longer becomes a cylinder it loses a lot of structural integrity, which just made this joint down here become the weakness of the cross trainer structure. Now that might not sound bad, but looking at it long term, that could turn out to be very bad because you've already been using the cross trainer that much with like the back and forth motion of the handles, and of course your legs are doing the same thing, but you can't see those because the camera's pointing at my face. Well, that motion will put further stress on the joint, causing the nuts and bolts to come loose, and then you'll need to tighten them up again, in which it will further crush the already crushed cylinder, causing it to become even weaker. And if you keep on repeating this, eventually that joint will just become that weak that it will no longer be able to support your body weight on the cross trainer. Then that central column is just going to like sort of bend over to one side. I don't know which side because it depends on loads of factors, but eventually that central column will just bend off to one side and just no longer be that central support column that it used to be. Now if you are using the cross trainer when this happens, that is a major hazard to the user because they could injure themselves. Depending if they were walking, they might be able to like jump off in time, but if they were like running or jogging and they had like a firm hold on the handles, then they may like just end up following the column and just fall off the cross trainer and injure themselves. So looking at it long term, if it does come to that scenario that I've just told you, I would say that is a major hazard to the user because of that one simple design, those 3 nuts and 3 bolts, the user could end up injuring themselves. So after that long explanation of that joint and why it is the weakness of the cross trainer, and it is the reason why I took mine back because the screws had come that loose, I did end up tightening them and the cylinder was becoming crushed, which meant it lost lots of its structural integrity, and the top of the cross trainer was actually beginning to sway as I was using it, and we were just thinking this is not safe, I need to return it. So hopefully my explanation has explained to you why I returned my cross trainer, and also explained to you why that design, the cross trainer used for its central support column, was such a bad idea. But anyway, that is it for the recording of this video. So if you have enjoyed this video, give it a like. If not, give it a dislike. Comment, favourite, share and subscribe. And thank you for watching. I'll speak to you in the next video.